Hey everybody, how you doing this year?
I know I'm doing pretty well myself, Chris, and, well, I'm assuming you're good as well.
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, well, it's the end of the year. Holy shit, it has gone by, I would say, immensely quickly, considering everything that's happened or not happened in this year. Depends on your take. But yeah, another year gone and another year of movies gone. I wish I could try and do my Albus Dumbledore impression, but then again, I don't want to sound like a pedophile. Anyway, this year of movies was interesting to say the least. And, well, interesting in every stretch of the word, because there were interesting bad movies, interesting good movies, but also an interesting feel and tone for this year, at least I would think. Considering this was coming up after the year of 2017, which I thought personally had, well, even though it might have had more of a peak and trough, at least that is a little bit eventful and throws a bit of a jolt into the general audience of filmgoers. And I just didn't feel that this year. It just felt like there was sort of a flat tone or maybe a dry spell of a period of time for this year of 2018. Granted, there absolutely were good, good and bad examples of film, just like there is every year. But then again, the consistency felt a little bit. That's the word for it. It just felt like you weren't able to necessarily rely on a consistency. But then again, that is what the general opinion here is for. I liked movies that other people didn't like. People were very mixed or very conflicted or very polarizing about other movies, but that's one of the things you can actually look for in a general film-going audience. And would you actually say this year would have been considered daring?
Yeah, I would, and I think a lot of you mentioned the dry spell earlier. I think that kind of plays into it. You know the old phrase that hunger is the best spice?
Yes.
Well, so because the movies have become so industrialized and so much feels samey with a bunch of CGI crap, a bunch of inconsistent tones with being overly comedic and making sure to make you feel nothing.
And some stories being messes and not necessarily trying to convey a unpredictable and well told out event or story, as opposed and being predictable and sort of having the wrong ways around.
Well, with that, it's because of that you are starving for something different. You're starving for something that does something else other than the usual bullshit of what you see constantly come out in waves, practically. So I think that's why a lot of movies this year, the key word is just that it was unique and it was interesting. Even if it wasn't perfect, even if they didn't reach their full potential, it's the fact that they actually tried to do something different that made them a lot more enjoyable than they otherwise would have.
Mm-hmm. And, well, yeah, it hasn't been that, it hasn't packed that much of a punch, at least from what I could gather from your synopsis of that. But, so luckily, that is what we are here to do. We're doing a little bit differently than last year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are doing our worst list first, as opposed to our best list, then our worst list.
Hoping to let positivity reign for once.
Exactly. And, well, how can you let positivity reign when you got the bad or the blockade in front of you? Let's go bear Jew on this fucking blockade. So, if you don't mind, viewing audience, the Leightowski team would like to present to you the top 5 worst movies of 2018, as told from these guys.
Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once? I am one of those melodramatic fools.
Before I start, real quick, I just want to say that normally we would have a list of the movies that we haven't seen throughout the year, but I'm on a bit of a time crunch for editing this video, as you probably can already tell, so I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. If their favorite movie or least favorite movie doesn't end up on either of our lists, just assume we didn't see it.
Or let us know what you thought about it. Tell us what you thought about it.
Yeah, we'll listen. Also, there is a theme surrounding my top 5 worst of the year, and that's taking something I like and fucking it up royally. So my number 5 is the Cloverfield Paradox. Now, the Cloverfield series has been interesting up to this point because we really don't get very many anthology series anymore. The problem with it is that these movies are so clearly meant to be standalone movies that they are trying to force into a much bigger series as a whole, to the point where you pretty much have to judge them on their own merits, otherwise they are complete failures. So the original Cloverfield was okay. 10 Cloverfield Lane was actually pretty good. The Cloverfield Paradox is garbage. It's a movie about scientists that go up into space to test out this device called the Shepherd. It is a device that opens up portals to other dimensions to create an infinite feedback loop to solve the energy crisis back on Earth. The Earth is on the brink of World War III over this energy crisis because, as we all know, wars are so energy efficient. So they're trying to figure this out, and what do you think happens? The machine malfunctions and they go to another dimension. And what pisses me off about that is it takes them half the movie to figure out that they've actually traveled to another dimension, despite the fact this machine was designed to open up portals to other dimensions. They didn't think for a second, though, that it would actually allow them to travel to other dimensions. My God, it is infuriating. From there, once the malfunction happens, it's a whole bunch of nonsense. There's some scientists that have memories of their other dimensional counterparts. Others don't. One guy goes insane and 3D prints a gun that apparently has unlimited ammo. Seriously, they fire off like 17 shots in this thing and they never have to reload it. And it's a handgun too, so it's not like a machine gun. Yes,
You've got to be
Never, it doesn't stop. Also, one guy gets filled up with these worms that they have on the ship for some reason. I don't know. One guy gets his arm sucked through the wall, and then they find it later on the ship walking around because it's completely sentient now.
They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky.
And when I say completely sentient, I mean like they hand it a pen and it writes down the location of the plot device.
So literally, it's the other cousin. It's the cousin version of Cousin It. Wait, no, that's not even It. Damn it, it's Thing. It's the cousin of Thing. But who cares? As soon as you see something that cartoony,
it's not walking around like that. It's just like, you know.
It's still funny just to be like, that's like half of the one of the demented Jack in the Boxes from Toy Story. Just.
Regardless, I may not be a scientist, so I'm not gonna say I know exactly how this stuff works, but even a scientist probably couldn't convince me that this all makes perfect sense. It feels like nonsense, and it probably is. Even on a surface level, I can't say it's a good movie because it has good characters or a decent, well-paced plot. It doesn't. The characters range from unmemorable to unlikable. You're never drawn into their plight, and above all else, it has fuck all to do with Cloverfield. The only connection they have to it is at the very end, is that the monster from the first movie just pops up and roars. So they're implying that because they traveled to another dimension, they brought back with them this monster. That doesn't make any sense because if I remember correctly, the first Cloverfield, the monster came from deep underground. And then in 10 Cloverfield Lane, they tried to say, oh no, they're aliens. They came from outer space with UFOs and everything. So they have no idea what the fuck they're doing with this series.
That's the paradox. They don't know the direction they want to take. Do we try this idea? No. Do we do this idea? No. Let's try this idea. Which, by the way, the first bit of like plot synopsis that you had, that is that is half of the synopsis for Event Horizon, which. Yeah, it's a team of people go out to space to look for this, like, either portal or spaceship that went through a portal.
The device itself creates the portal.
Oh, jeez.
They built it. They built it to do that, but they still couldn't figure out, how would we have traveled to another dimension? What did we have on this? Oh, yeah. Well,
this just sounds like a mess.
It is. I hope this kills the franchise, because if I want an anthology series, which I do, I like anthology series, but you gotta do it right. You gotta do it good.
Well, nobody wants to try and do an anthology series nowadays because they want to try and continue a line so they can continue a trend and therefore try and bring more money to it as opposed to like some form of like creativity or originality.
Right. So that's that.
Okay, mine not. Okay, my number 5 pick might not be as like over the top, crazy, like sound stupid as yours, but my number 5 pick is The Mule. Yes, the Clint Eastwood directed movie is on my top 5 worst list. And you know why it's on my worst list? It's not because of the idea that this story does have a unique sounding idea of just an old man being lured into the cartel and being a casual drug mule, just, oh yeah, I drive along. Yeah, and the FBI comes by and tries to stop him. That either sounds like it could go anywhere and have, like, crazy scenarios, but then again, it's based off of a true story, so there's really not much for that. No. Well, it's sort of related to that, but the main word I have for this movie is boring. This movie was unbelievably boring, and you would never think that someone like Clint Eastwood, the man who directed Unforgiven, $1 Million Baby, even Gran Torino got a lot bigger positive response than this movie, and I can sort of see why. It's about Clint Eastwood. He's like this, I don't know, he's a popular flower salesman guy. He likes flowers a lot, and he used to fight in Korea, so, he's this, like, charming guy who is... Well, he's the life of the party because he's nice. No, he's supposed to be portrayed as the asshole. Yeah, he's an asshole dad who... The main asshole thing is that he forgot to go to his daughter's wedding day, and one of the reasons that he has to be this drug mule for this cartel is because one of the guys who is associated with his granddaughter hears that, oh yeah, he used to drive a lot during his life. That's something that will definitely coexist with criminal activity. So yeah, he just randomly approaches him to, oh yeah, just drive. We can pay you to just drive. This Korean War veteran isn't smart enough to try and see, oh yeah, you're about to do this unbelievably criminal thing. No, he's just this... Yeah, that's also sort of the tone that this movie is trying to go for. It's trying to be this serious, dramatic, sometimes even darkly urbane movie. No, it's unbelievably simple and predictable, but that's not one of the things that you look for when you look for a Clint Eastwood movie. In $1 Million Baby, you have this bigoted asshole who is, well, luckily coerced by this woman to be able to teach her how to box and become one of the best. That was seeing him go through a character arc. This character that Clint Eastwood plays is one of the most asinine things about this year, and it wasn't even that much. But still, it's also coming from a guy who didn't write the script. I'm assuming Clint Eastwood wrote those other movies that I was talking about. If he didn't, fuck all. But again, the reason this movie doesn't work is because it's also utterly predictable. And it doesn't even take that many chances with what it is given. It just shows him driving more stuff. And how are we supposed to be invested in this guy? And also the story doesn't necessarily know where it wants to go with it. It doesn't know if it wants to tell a story with a father who, well, estranged, my fucking god. But, cut there. It doesn't know if it wants to tell this story about an estranged father trying to reconnect with his daughter and even his wife, who we later find out is dying. Big shock. Oh, by the way, she looks like my late grandmother, so that was another down point on this movie. But yeah, it doesn't know. It also doesn't know if it wants to be a criminal story about this person who. But one of the things that would have made this movie so much better is if Clint Eastwood did not have a family. If he was just an old man who was down on his luck, either because of previous choices that have made him had to stoop as low to being a drug mule, or just have him be completely alienated. Don't try and give him this positive. Yeah, he's the life of the party for his other flower people, and that's also one of the other character traits that he's trying to portray. Yeah, this all just feels jumbled. It feels jumbled, and it feels like a mess. And it's like, again, it's from one of Hollywood's greatest pioneers, Clint fucking Eastwood. That's the reason that is on this list as opposed to other messes. But yeah, that is the reaction I got from that movie. Clint, you're in your 80s. You've made your legend. You've made your legend. I'm speaking in tongues because of you. Either just ride out your years or, well, just be happy and let us watch Unforgiven one more time. And I actually have 2 different movies that I have for the number 5 position this year. This just came up as a surprise, just to yours as much as mine. It is Skyscraper. What do you remember Skyscraper as?
The movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson with a missing leg climbing a tower.
That's pretty much all it is. And yeah, he's trying to climb a tower. He's trying to do incredible stunts on a tower. But again, what is it all for? Oh yeah, it's for his family. So his family is in a very tall building, a burning building, being held by criminals, wanting something in return that's worth money, and trying to perform a heist over. That hasn't sounded anything different before. Please, tell me what you think it reminds you of.
Speed.
Yes, the movie Speed, with the bus that's running around on a bomb. But what inspired Speed? Die Hard! It's Die Hard and the Towering Inferno all mixed into one. If you've seen either of those movies, if you've only seen one of those movies, I haven't even seen the Towering Inferno, but I don't need a goddamn dictionary to show me that, yeah, it's about a burning building with people who are trying to get out of it. But, again, it's Die Hard. They're just in a tall building in a foreign country, and it's an American who, well, yeah, it has to be a jacked American who is supposedly weakened by this one little bit of leg that he lost from a CIA, FBI, some special forces job where he got injured, and he married the lead girl from the Scream franchise. Nev Campbell. But yeah, he has a wife and 2 kids, and yeah, they go to the foreign country with the tall building. He's a security guy, and yeah, they approve of his advanced security system. Oh, and yeah, as soon as they're out there, oh, unfortunate they come back during a goddamn robbery. They're just trying to steal this, like, encryption disk, like, chip thing. It sounds like the plot of a 90s movie, where it's like some top secret computer disk that will allow me to do this. That's all the bad guys are looking for. It's not very subtle about the way that they even reveal it either, because the owner of the building, who created the building, is so shady and rich that, oh my god, yeah, he has to have some weird, like, dark backstory. You don't even care at that point because you're trying to watch it for the stunts that The Rock pulls off, and I'm only calling him The Rock because, well, previous reasons. But also, another reason that I'm putting it on this list is because I barely even remembered that I saw it. That's how unfulfilling this movie felt. Because when you think about action movies, yeah, you gotta think about the stunts, and you gotta think about, oh, how much can we weaken our lead guy? The reason that Die Hard worked was because Bruce Willis, John McClane, wasn't as jacked or as, like, action-prone as, well, yeah, the fucking Rock is. Even though they still try and weaken him with his leg, he's still enormous, and that completely suspends all disbelief that he's not gonna succeed in the end. And really, when you've seen this story so many times, yeah, you just expect the hero to try and do everything correctly, and big shock, he does. And I don't even remember who played the villain or the ethnicity of the villain, because he's white for some reason and has, like, Asian help around him. Oh yeah, and there's a really goddamn annoying female character in this that's associated with the police force. Oh yeah, and by the way, when you get half of your family out of the building in the first half of the movie, you're probably going to bring the other half with them also. You're not going to go the Sophie's Choice route because that doesn't make money. Yeah, it's unbelievably predictable, And again, the action isn't very investing when you can't get invested into the lead character. Yeah, he has a fucked up leg or something, but that only occurs at one point, and, well, they try and make leg insertion like a focal point of the photography, which is like, they just have that one shot for like 5 or 6 times, as well as him kissing his leg. Yeah, amputees, if you have a fetish for it, this is your movie to go see. But again, because of me not even being able to remember the title of this movie for so long, not having any need to remember anything else of it, again, the special effects are cool, and when you look at the building, it's kind of cool.
For something you don't remember, you're sure talking about it for a while.
That's because I don't want to remember it. Ever. The Rock, do something better than this. Make more Jumanjis.
Sometimes I give myself the creeps.
My number 4 is Pacific Rim Uprising. You know, the original Pacific Rim I may have gushed about in my initial review of it, but over the years I kind of realized that, yeah, it may be fun, but there's no masterpiece or anything. If Pacific Rim Uprising does anything, it's to make me eat my words. It is a masterpiece when compared to this piece of shit.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
I mean, alright, so the things the first one got right, this one gets everything wrong. That's the robot fights, the intense. They were intense. They were thrilling. They all took place at night. There was rain. They communicated to the audience that fighting these kaijus is hard, piloting these Jaegers is hard, and it all kind of plays together to make it so much more fun. The plot was a lot more intense. Like you felt like this was humanity's last stand.
The characters were better. They were more fun.
They knew how to be endearing and not how to be annoying assholes. Okay, and this one. Oh my god, through every aspect of it.
That's a lot of reasons and aspects about how about the other one is better than this fucking piece of shit.
So, it takes place 10 years later. We follow Flynn from Star Wars. Finn? Oh, sorry. He's such a memorable character. I can't... His catchphrase this movie is "I'm not my father," which the whole movie's title should just be "I'm not
my father."
I'm not
Uprising.
I'm not the first movie. It's the whole world has become so stupid because apparently the only pilots left to pilot these Jaegers are a bunch of stupid kids. Which, yes, piloting a Jaeger now is so easy, a kid can do it. Hell, one little girl builds a Jaeger of her own out of garbage.
Granted, it's a mini one, but still, having the
That's
idea
like
of
building a rocket ship in your backyard and going to the moon and then being like, "Excuse me, we're gonna have to give you a ticket. Your blinker was on the fritz."
Sorry, I was trying to take a left turn at Albuquerque.
It's so dumb. And by the end of it all, they have the goal to sequel bait in this movie. I really hope this movie didn't do good, so we don't have to get another one.
Do well. But also, I don't think this one did very well, and it also didn't do very well even with general audiences, because I was talking with this movie to my cousin about it, and he said that, wow, this is garbage. And his friends, who were also at the time, they were just like, that was okay, I guess. We took the time out to go to it. Yeah, that when you can't even make that big of an impact with an action movie that has flashy colors and Jesus Christ, God, fucking a brain through like the gas mask thing.
You know, Charlie Day is such an irritating to listen to shithead in this movie that it's like he wandered off from the set of a Transformers sequel. He's really that bad. It's the kind of thing you would expect from Transformers, but no, here it is in a movie that wants you to take it seriously.
No joke, I'm assuming the acting that he did for this movie was the approach that he was trying to do for the fake Lethal Weapon movies that they were trying to make in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He plays like the police chief and he gets the names wrong. He's like, "Welcome back to the Force, Riggs! Merita!" And he basically has that sort of approach. He's either over the top and trying to be like conniving and sniveling. But no, he's a comic man. He has a funny voice. You can't turn him into this intimidating villain. Charlie Day as your villain. That's the dagger in this movie's back.
I tried to give this movie at least some benefit of the doubt, if only because we don't get very many movies with giant robots fighting. But you know what? Fuck that. The robot fighting in this movie is boring. I mean, it takes place in broad daylight, and they don't even fight monsters for the majority of it.
They fight the
these
robots.
lifeless drones.
They fight the drones that have, well, these robots or drones that supposedly have the monsters in them.
And by the time the monsters do show up, they're so easily dealt with because, again, it's so easy a stupid kid can do it, to the point where they have to do the fusion dance and turn into one giant monster that makes all the Jaegers. That's not the fusion dance. That's okay. They make all these Jaegers completely irrelevant to the point where the main one has to kamikaze it just to do any kind of damage. Which makes me think, what was the point of these Jaegers? Why didn't you just build a satellite cannon and nuke these fuckers right out of the ocean?
Or why don't you just start off with the sword every single time?
Well, the sword didn't do anything because, like I said, it did the fusion dance that made them all worthless. Fuck this movie.
Fuck it to hell. Fuck her to high heaven. It's not even gonna make it out of the places anyway.
I'm going back to the first Pacific Rim with tears in my eyes, all apologetically. I'm so sorry I ever doubted you.
Ron Perlman, you're beautiful.
Well, Ron Perlman's always beautiful. I never doubted that.
Yeah, it's funny. It has action. It's interesting. It has giant monsters punching giant robots, using shipping crates as brass knuckles, freighters as baseball bats. That's the fun stuff you look for. And, well, yeah, you want fun after watching something that pisses you off. Now, let's find out what the next one is. My number 4 pick is Superbad, The Direction Has Gone Nowhere. Oh wait, that's not the title of it. The title of my number 4 pick is Cockblockers. Oh wait, that's not the title of it. Oh wait, yes it is the title of it! Because you threw in a fucking rooster in your goddamn title and you think you're being smart by not including the word of it. That just shows how much more juvenile you are than actual teenagers or other adults who make movies that aren't as juvenile as you older adults. What was I talking about again?
Oh, no.
Oh yeah, Cockblockers. That movie pissed me off to no degree at all, and
Very out of character for you.
Who cares? I get my one bouts every once in a while. But yeah, also Cockblockers goes under my category of movies that I absolutely hated and despised that everyone else seemed to love or like. Their idea of this is oh yeah, it's a turn your brain off movie and you just look at funny stuff happen. Okay, I've been telling this to a handful of people and you will actually be shocked when I give this definition. You could be crude and crass. You can be dirty and, well, yeah, dirty and as vulgar as you want to be. That's the idea of blue comedy. But you also need context. You need context about what you're trying to do it for and not necessarily the idea of it. You can always just say poop and it's not very funny because it's just poop. There's no context for it. When you have context, then I throw poop at you. I throw poop in the air and it lands on someone. That's funny because it gives something. This movie does not do that. It's because of the goddamn title and relating that to the movie. Again, the psychotic nature of these parents bewilders me, belittles me to no end. Just the idea that they go out of their way to try and cock-block their children as opposed to just, well, yeah, times are changing and we can actually accept the fact that our precious little 17-year-old daughters are moving on. We still follow them throughout the movie as opposed to the kids. One of the main descriptions of this movie is that people are saying, oh yeah, it's the Superbad for girls. Bull fucking shit, we don't spend time with them. In Superbad, we don't spend time with the goddamn parents of these 3 guys who are trying to go out, get booze, get laid. Instead, it follows the wrong people, it follows the wrong kind of delivery also, because again, they give just crass and crude humor without giving much context to it. There's a point where it's just emojis and, oh yeah, they're talking about dirty stuff while talking about emojis. There's a whole speech about, like, I'm not 100% sure if it's about, like, dildos or something or shit. But yeah, they also just have the kids doing drugs, drinking, and puking everywhere. The idea of it is funny. The execution of it can be funny. But again, it's focused on the wrong people at the wrong time, not giving it the right context. And that is why I could not laugh at this movie very much. I could not get invested in this scenario that they've pulled up, and I couldn't go along with the idea of, again, why are we following the fucking parents? Ugh. Again, what? And also, it's a little bit strangely sexist that this movie was made by men to try and big up women. And, again, if you want my general opinions, you can go check out my 40-minute rant about and rundown of the entire plot of the movie. But again, I can't help myself to and even say that this is a good movie. There are technically things wrong with this movie. Cutting scenes short when you're trying to just move the plot along. There is logic insensibility with one of the teenagers leaving their laptops open just to try and get the plot moving. This movie doesn't work for me. I didn't laugh at it. John Cena, even though I love you, please, well, luckily, apparently you've transformed your movie career by doing the Transformers prequel. So hopefully your agent gets you better work along with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson along the way.
Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me.
My number 3 is Solo, a Star Wars movie. If you would ask me, how do you make a Star Wars prequel starring Han Solo? And my answer would be, you don't. I don't want your disgusting, unwashed hands to touch one of my favorite aspects of the Star Wars universe, and to that they say, tough shit, we're making it anyway. Okay, fine. Well, let's see. I think you'd want to focus on the Empire. His time there, that was the most interesting aspect of his backstory. Okay, we'll give you about 15 minutes of the time in the Empire, and we'll just brush that aside and pretend like it never happened. Okay, well, you're at least going to take time to develop his friendship with Chewie, right? Oh, yeah, we'll throw them in a cage together and make them... we won't let them out till they become best friends. Okay.
Like each other! Well, or in this movie's case, I know your language. Oh, okay.
Okay, well, you're at least going to do Han Solo some justice, right? I mean, I know you don't have Harrison Ford anymore. It's like, well, I know people really like Star-Lord, so we're just going to make him that character. What? It's like, yeah, and we even have 70% of this movie's dialogue comprised up of one-liners and quips from the other Star Wars movies. Because that's what people like, right? That's what you want to see Han Solo do, right?
Now give us your money, you easily fooled fools.
Short response, fuck this movie. Long response, fuck this movie.
Yeah, I have the same feelings about that too, but the reason that that's not on my list is because, well, again, I gave my movie everyone likes, but I hate, to the other movie previous to this, but also, there wasn't enough invested into this movie, like, creative-wise, in order for me to be able to, like, rant about it creative-wise.
There wasn't a single ounce of originality in any aspect of this movie.
There wasn't any originality to it. Sometimes it could look, once in a while, it could look cool at least.
I just cannot believe that this movie failed on every single aspect. I mean, it's not a good prequel, because I feel like I need to watch the movies that came out after, or that take place after this, to know more about the character I'm supposed to be being taught how he became that.
This fails as an origin story.
It fails as a decent Star Wars movie because, well, like I said, it takes only things from other Star Wars movies to build itself, and the stuff it does do new is fucking stupid. You remember Feminist Robot?
What would you like? equality. You're a fucking robot. What the fuck?
Oh, and just as like a space heist movie, it also sucks. I mean, it's almost like Guardians of the Galaxy Light, and I hate Guardians of the Galaxy. This is the worst Star Wars movie to date. This is the one to beat because
Worse than Phantom Menace, worse than Attack of the Clones.
Yes, it is, because at least those movies have their own identity to them. This, like with Force Awakens, although worse than Force Awakens because it drags one of my favorite characters from the Star Wars franchise through the mud, it has,
sometimes literally.
It is the most pointless. It is the most pointless watch out of any one of these. I would rather watch any other Star Wars movie than this.
And then again, I'm not the biggest hater of Phantom Menace that everyone else needs to be. But yeah, I would pass up this movie any day. I'd just go watch I like the original trilogy movie. Well, not the original. I like the prequels better than this one.
I don't want Star Wars to go the way of Marvel movie. Well, and I guess in a way they already have gone the way of Marvel movies, but
Disney.
But I'm the next episode that comes out in May. That is your last chance. If you fail to entice me, then that's my last Star Wars movie. At that point, I'm done. I quit. I'm not watching these anymore.
There's already fucking 10 of them, 11 of them, 12 of them. However fucking what the hell is it? 13 now.
Well, having them planned doesn't necessarily mean they're in production.
Oh, jeez.
There's a difference there. It's just like ideas sitting on the shelf, essentially.
Oh, yeah, we've already got 10 total Star Wars movies. Jesus God. Oh, wait, not even... How much longer can this go? I love Star Wars just as much as anyone else does. But how much farther can they just stretch out a single thing of silly putty worth of material? And my number 3 pick for this year is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Yeah, not too big of a shock with this, especially considering on the screaming rantish thing that I did for our last video. Yeah, basically, and also sort of an address, if we have numbers or entrants on our list that we did videos about, you can get a lot better like insight into those movies from that. But yeah, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, it's a fucking mess. The characters are more annoying than the first movie, and the first one only had like still a couple of interesting characters from that. The plot gets really ridiculous as farther it goes along, and the other Jurassic Park movies, they had some other plot elements and other elements that were ridiculous, but at least you were still able to go along for the adventure with it as opposed to try and question why they are doing each of these events. Then again, sometimes those questions can still be brought up for, The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. But again, along with this one, you're not able to have any kind of enjoyment when you're watching this. You just look at cool dinosaurs, you look at these people that you don't want to see live, try and get out of this alive. Again, one of the only good visual things about this movie is Bryce Dallas Howard and her ass. But even when they go to the goddamn mansion, it goes for Alien, but there are so many other stupid scenarios that pop up just so that the lead characters can live and show that, oh yeah, this dinosaur, the Indiegogo Raptor Rex thing or whatever, that's still... That thing, yeah, it's supposed to be intimidating and try and one-up the last dinosaur. If it's killed by a dinosaur that's smaller than it and sort of in a bitch way, it's not as fulfilling. I've gone unfulfilled, Jeff Bezos. South Park reference to anybody who still watches it. But, yeah, this fucking movie, it's random. It's not well thought out. It's not very well executed. It's just not fun. Just watch the fucking first Jurassic Park movie. Or if you're okay with it, just watch Jurassic World and have a couple of beers with it. Watch the motherfucking T-Rex! Not Indiegogo Rex. That one's a bitch. Any thoughts from you on the fucking Lost World Part 2? PETA tries to squeeze in another message.
Not really. I mean, you pretty much summed up everything. Although I did kind of like the alien in a mansion thing.
Yeah, Alien in a Mansion, I just wish they had better executed it because there were still so many other stupid decisions, like Pratt not making the right decisions, hiding under a fucking bed from a dinosaur.
What?
But, yeah.
Pratt doesn't do that.
No, the girl hides...
She doesn't even hide under the bed. She hides under the covers.
But even Pratt doesn't even protect her well, and they have to rely on Blue the Raptor in order to be able to get them out of situations. Oh yeah, and standing on a fucking broken leg, shooting a dinosaur. That makes sense.
You didn't even... Oh no, you didn't even mention the parts. This raptor's favorite movie was Nosferatu.
Yeah, let's just watch Nosferatu instead. It's a better monster movie.
I think I'm cracking up.
My number 2 is Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
Teen Titans, do. Well, I sort of like the show. Well, the original show.
Well, this isn't the original show at all. I haven't seen a lick of the new Teen Titans Go because it just doesn't look very good. But people said, hey, if you haven't seen the show, this is a good place to start. And you know what? It's not even like the show. It's so much better. It's blah, blah, blah. 5 minutes into this movie, I'm just like, why am I watching this? Why? Oh my god. This movie, I think, is supposed to be a parody of the modern superhero movies, which is stupid because superhero movies nowadays are parodies of themselves.
Pretty much, and it's not like we have a shit ton of them already. Oh wait.
They have the goal to say that the only reason people don't like them, the Teen Titans Go, their versions, is because they're too silly. People don't want that nowadays. People want they want their superheroes to be all serious and everything. It's like we can't take you seriously. That's why you're not any good.
You know one thing that made the comic book genre die a little bit in the early 2000s? Was trying to take the heroes too seriously. Fucking Daredevil, Elektra, what were the other stupid, well, I guess Fantastic Four didn't take themselves seriously enough, but yeah, that's something that'll definitely bring you a lot of fame and fortune in the nowadays version of comic book movies, which is just fun rides with a little bit of drama.
No, with no drama, because nothing matters.
That is true.
That's my problem, is that nothing fucking matters. And that holds true with this movie. This movie's the hate child between a bad comic book movie and a bad animated movie, all brought together like I never wanted.
The fucking business people's perspective on this is a Green Day song. In the end, it doesn't even matter.
Green Day? That's
No.
Linkin Park, you idiot!
My bad, Linkin Park.
Okay. The plot.
The plot.
It's a bunch of fucking nonsense. What it is that Robin's upset that all the superheroes got movies and he doesn't have a single one. So they go to Hollywood to try and make a movie, and they can't because nobody likes them because they're not superhero. They're not superheroes good enough for movies. That's just it. There's no money in them. So they're like, how are we gonna do it? Well, first we need a villain. So they find Slade, and they say he's the perfect villain. And of course they try to make it really stupid. It's like he's got the perfect name that sounds so menacing when you say it slow. Slade. Fuck off.
Slade.
It's not even his name. He's Slade Wilson, but he's Deathstroke. It's fucking Deathstroke, okay?
It's a way cooler name.
So, at some point, you know how little anything in this movie matters? At one point, they actually go back in time and stop all the superheroes' origin stories so that there doesn't exist any superheroes but them, which doesn't make any sense because without Batman, Robin wouldn't exist. But anyways, when they get
without the Justice League, Cyborg wouldn't exist.
So anyways, regardless, they go back to their future time and find that everything's fucked because that's what happens when you mess with time that much, you idiots. And so they go back in time again, reinstate all the origin stories, thus killing a lot of people. And I think, oh man, Batman's gonna have your hide, man, when you find out you're the reason his parents died and everything. Oh no. Nothing matters! God
In the
damn it.
end, it doesn't even matter.
Still not Green Day, you idiots.
Linkin Park.
Okay, but the movie's climax is that eventually Robin does get to make his own movie, but it's he has to learn some bullshit message about friendship because the other Teen Titans aren't allowed in there and aren't allowed in his movie, and it's all an evil plan by Slade to control all the superheroes using the power of movies and everything, and the way the Teen Titans defeat him is with their silliness. Seriously, their seriousness overpowers his seriousness.
What you said didn't make sense. Silliness, seriousness with seriousness.
It's a bunch of fucking bullshit. And the original Teen Titans cartoon was not a masterpiece, but again, it's so much better than this. The characters were distinct, they were likable, they were equal parts endearing, and yes, there was a lot of silly moments in it, no doubt. It was
simple.
But it was good. It was good because it was actually funny, and they knew when to not be funny, and there were some actual emotional moments, some gut punches. How many other cartoons can you think of where one of the main characters dies?
Not maybe some of
It's not often you see that, okay?
Not often.
The movie, the last thing I just want to say about this movie is that it knows how terrible it is. It takes pride in knowing how bad it is, and uses that to piss the audience off even further, which just makes it so infuriating to watch. And you know how I know this? Is because there's a mid-credit sequence where the real Teen Titans, the ones from the original cartoon, they come out, it's like, we've been away for a while now, but we're coming back. And you know what sucks about, even above everything I just said? This is the highest rated movie on my list. It has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, jeez.
Yes. So, if this is really what we consider to be ideal comic book movies nowadays, comic book movies in general have just left me by, and that's really depressing because I've been a lifelong superhero fan.
You might find out later that there might be a slim glimmer of hope.
Well, it's gonna be a while before we get there because, like I said, this is what people prefer nowadays. Nothing that matters. Everything is just complete fucking bullshit. Comic book movies have left me by.
Cartoony, fun, but
stupid.
I have
stupid. Emphasis on stupid.
I haven't seen
So
it.
thank you for the waste of time. Thank you for the waste of money. Teen Titans, go fuck yourself.
How about that? Well, luckily we left on that very high note to go to a little bit of a low note because my number 2 pick, how fittingly enough, goes to Pacific Rim 2 or Pacific Rim Uprising if you want to be that fucking specific about it. So yeah, I am a little bit surprised that I hated this movie a little more than you did. Either that or you just had shittier movies to throw into your list as opposed to mine. No, but everything that you said still flows through perfectly because, yes, this is unbelievably dumb, both in story and execution and being able to, actually portray a good CG action movie instead of just killing off characters that you only bring in for a couple of minutes or so. But also, the fucking action doesn't work. One of the best things that worked about the first Pacific Rim, they couldn't even get right here because, again, the different direction and the different mythos behind these things is taken away. And it's just another Transformers movie. That's one of the main things that I hate about this, is that it's basically another Transformers movie where you see big robots fighting quickly and not fighting the slow, technical movements from, again, the hard-to-pilot systems from the first one. No, they can just be do martial arts shit in the middle of cities which they completely destroy, and they actually did have a level of seriousness when regarding the city in the first one. Mm-hmm. They took it seriously. It must be the Ghostbusters remake route. But, yeah, they didn't even go as far to give us good action on what. So, even with a stupid action movie, something like Commando or other guilty pleasures like Judge Dredd, you were able to rely on the action and everything that was over the top, the scenery, the atmosphere. It's the fucking regular day atmosphere with this, and it's also not very inviting with the over-the-topness, because we've seen it time and time again. Like I said earlier, the first one, it had shipping crates as brass knuckles, baseball bats, fucking colors, a doggy, everything else that your inner 9-year-old will love. That is not in this, because you've either seen it already before, or you're just not appreciating... Don't say that I'm not appreciating the money that tried to go into this, but when you fuck up something before you throw it out and you make money off of it anyway, there's really no feel to try and get negative. But yep, just everything about this movie fails. Even though it has an actual good actor from John Boyega. And I do like Finn, by the way. But yeah, he's not Finn in this movie. He's just some other black British arsehole. Bollocks. Fuck. Shit. Oh yeah, he's not his father. Fuck off.
I went to a shrink to analyze my dreams. She said...
And now we get to our dishonorable mentions, of which I just have a handful. I don't know how many you have.
I do have a handful as well, but my list is made... Well, it might be a handful of videos that we produced earlier this year, or also it might just be... Well, mine is mainly just movies I hated but everyone else loved this year. So, well, regardless, all we need is just a quick quib or point about it. So, you want to start with your list?
Yeah, sure. Let's see, I got No Malone, which was an odd movie because I saw a trailer for it back to back with the Romeo and Juliet trailer, and I thought, how many goddamn No movies do we really need? But then it disappeared, just off the face of the earth. Nothing happened to it. I didn't see it in theaters, I didn't see it in media, nothing. And then it just popped up out of fat air onto Netflix, so I gave it a watch, and imagine Coraline, made 10 years later, and it sucked.
So basically, well, yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. And the only humor can actually come from just the name.
Which is not even original, because there's a horror movie called No Malone that came out 2 years prior.
Oh, jeez.
It's funny because when I was looking up No Malone, it's like that movie came up, and I'm like, what? So I thought, like, this isn't it, is it? No, it's not. But still, it just made me think, okay, so their so-called oh-so-clever title wasn't even that clever.
Yep. Okay. And sort of going back and forth, one of my dishonorable mentions this year is, actually, The House with a Clock on Its Walls.
Really?
Because, again, yeah, it was one that I really didn't feel like I was invested in enough. And Jack Black was okay. He's charming enough as is. Cate Blanchett is usually good. But the kid wasn't very interesting, and I just felt it was like a watered down Harry Potter. And again, some of the jokes didn't work to the extent.
Bad kitty, use the litter box. How many times did they use that one?
About 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And also Jack Black baby pissing. That was creepy as shit, by the way. That was the scariest thing.
Oh my God.
That was the fucking scariest thing of this entire year.
You may see
Jack Black baby pissing.
Man baby bullshit I hate. I absolutely hate. And that almost ruined the whole movie for me. I actually didn't think it was that bad of a movie. Actually, what's the most surprising thing about it was seeing Eli Roth's name pop up as the director. Like, wow. I didn't think it had it in him to make he couldn't entertain adults, but maybe he can entertain children.
And unfortunately, he made the child in this a little too gullible, a little too dumb. Him buying the whole "mommy is alive" bit was really predictable.
I thought it was okay. You know, that bully character that hangs around him throughout the movie.
Yeah.
He also plays Atreus in the God of War game this year.
Wow.
That was surprising.
You probably got more surprises out of this movie than I did, so...
I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. I thought it was just okay.
It was more or less for me to just go with like a mediocre, but I don't know if I would ever waste my time. Well, not waste. I'd never get it up. I'd never get it for myself. The only way I'd tolerate it is if you bought it or if someone else was like, "Oh, you want to watch this?" Fine. Pretty colors. Pretty colors.
Okay, another dishonorable mention for me is gonna be, oh God, don't hate me, Overlord.
No, I don't hate you at all. That's something completely fine.
Okay, it's it fails on every aspect of being a war movie, of being a horror movie. It only kind of works as an action schlock fest at the very end. But ultimately, what takes the piss out of this movie for me is that the stuff that actually happened in World War II with the Holocaust and what the Nazis actually were experimenting on with their prisoners is way more disturbing than any of the bullshit comic book science in this movie. Also, it does something I really hate, which is giving a nice, clean, sanitized, politically correct view into the past. Our main character is black, and he's put into a white squadron, all white squadron, and never once has to deal with any racism from anybody ever at any point.
Well,
in 1944.
You were just expecting them to throw out the N-word constantly.
I was expecting at least someone to be like, "Why do I have to work with the black guy?" Because that was the time period. In fact, most black soldiers that were drafted were usually put in a squadron of other black soldiers that were drafted. They were not just thrown into white squadrons because they knew that would spell disaster.
Strange details you're trying to focus on now.
Well, okay, it's something I hate. Ignoring history, or at least pretending it didn't happen, or pretending it was a lot nicer, safer, cleaner, is dangerous. Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. You're not supposed to look back and think what a nice world we lived in. You're supposed to look back and think, wow, we didn't know as much. We were kind of stupid back then, but you know what? Happy that we've learned from our mistakes.
Well, flip thoughts on this one. I thought Overlord was just fun. I thought it was. Well, this was the turn your brain off movie for me, because there were a couple of logical points that went out the window, but I thought it was fairly gory fun, and it's coming from Bad Robot, which J.J. Abrams' production company. So
why does J.J. Abrams suck at making black characters? Between this and Finn,
opinions vary. I just thought it was a fun World War II, bloody, gory, zombie, just like slugfest, pretty much. I didn't think it was that bad. I had a good time with it. So it was a good time.
That's good.
And also another one of my dishonorable mentions is actually one of your worst, Solo, a Star Wars story, and everything that I said, you said, holds up 100% to a T. I didn't put it on the worst because I didn't think it was. Well, yeah, I didn't think it was. Even though I seemed rage-filled during the video, it's still a Star Wars movie. It's gonna hold the name, but also I did hear some comparisons from Star Wars fans about how, this movie is a mess and it's flat and it's shallow. But some people thought they thought it was a turn your brain off movie. I couldn't turn my brain off during this because,
I'm so sick of hearing that excuse. Just turn your brain off. It's like saying, you know what, just don't watch it and pretend it was a good movie.
That's what they're trying to have you do. But, yeah, shallow, flat. Everyone I've talked to who I know is a Star Wars fan, I've told them to not see this. That's just how, again, unfulfilling this movie is.
Another dishonorable mention for me, very unpopular opinion, Ready Player One. This is a video game movie. I don't know if the book had the same problem, but this is a video game movie made by a bunch of jackasses who've never played video games before, and you can tell. And what results is one of the most nonsense worlds I have ever seen. Whether you have characters that forget what gender they are because they're cross-playing, you have people who can commit domestic terrorism blatantly out in the open and even boast about it online, and nothing will come of it. Other, raiding your home, kidnapping you, and then forcing you to gold mine in virtual reality. And again, the law is completely untouched, can't do anything about it. Oh, and my personal favorite, taking 5 whole goddamn years to figure out a piss-takingly obvious solution to a video game that the entire world is playing non-stop.
Go backwards! Just go backwards!
Only reason I don't put it on my list, what other movie am I gonna see Mechagodzilla and the Iron Giant fight with Mobile Suit Gundam as the assist?
Just seeing the Back to the Future car, Rush references, all the old video game
No, there was no
references.
Rush. There was no Rush in the movie.
The poster.
Oh, there's a poster. Okay, well there was no Tom Sawyer.
I wanted Tom Sawyer! I listened to Tom Sawyer before I got here today. I'm like, Jesus Christ, why couldn't we get Tom Sawyer in that movie? But, yeah, stupid, well, a little bit complicated, but fun, I'd say the least. You'll hear me talk about it a little bit later. But I definitely can understand why you wouldn't like it, and how over the top it can be, and how, well, like, ampy and corny it can be.
More just sort of nonsensical to me. Like, it doesn't follow any logical chain of events. Or, well, I should say the world doesn't. I mean, the characters, honestly, are just fine, but it's again, these people have never played a video game before. Why are you making a movie about it? You don't see me making a movie about the railroad and be like, how does this work? Well, obviously...
Well, you put a spike down and you hit the spike.
Well, I just thought the magic elves came by and then made this stuff. So...
Well, like what you just said, my next choice for dishonorable mention is a really, really unpopular opinion, because one of my dishonorable mentions is Bohemian Rhapsody. Yes, I fucking hated this movie. The only reason I'm not putting it on the top...
What do you have against gay people, man?
I don't have anything against gay people. My brother is gay. Well, that's when you bring up the badass line of saying that from Goon, which is, my brother's gay! And headbutts.
Yeah.
Have you even seen that?
I have not.
I need to show it to you. Hey, it's a good, funny sports movie. And I'd way rather watch a movie that sort of does that reference to gays as opposed to this movie about gays. This whole fucking movie for me was a gigantic mess, and I have several points why. I'll try to be concise. Number 1, they don't know what kind of origin or whatever story they want to portray. They don't know if they want to talk about Freddie Mercury specifically, or just Freddie Mercury with the band, because it does go Freddie Mercury with the band, then Freddie Mercury, and then gay people and AIDS at the very end of it. And they don't know if they want to be just a full band retrospective and just about the band and traveling through their timeline through that. This movie went through development hell. This went through so many different, like, script drafts, different producers. Sacha Baron Cohen was originally supposed to play Freddie Mercury. And he ended up leaving the project because of other reasons. And, by the way, Rami Malek, he's a good actor, but in this movie, he's acting in a fucking Halloween costume. Well, how would you be able to tolerate somebody who talks like this? Lovely. Let's do this, love. This, darling. Okay, I know he had bad teeth, but you still have to watch a person with those teeth throughout the entire movie. And yeah, once in a while he does have the stage presence and the actual performing abilities of Freddie Mercury, but the music bits that they have, which could have led to the making of a great Queen movie and just all over Queen, as opposed to just taking spots left and right. You can't see me. But the music parts are the only good parts when we have to go back to a cookie-cutter storyline of a rise and fall, fame, star, Hollywood, music, band, whatever, money. When you have the story being predictable about one of the most influential figures in music, then you're doing it a disservice. Almost everyone has the unified opinion that the band Queen and the actual story of Queen deserves a better movie than this. And I'm not trying to disrespect gays, I'm not trying to disrespect Freddie Mercury, I'm trying to disrespect a production company, and I don't even necessarily know if I want to blame Bryan Singer, the director of a handful of the X-Men movies, The Usual Suspects, good stuff. But this is misguided. Sometimes it's annoying, and it's annoyingly predictable. And again, about someone who is as famous and as memorable and as beloved as Freddie Mercury. That's why I fucking hate this movie.
I didn't love or hate this movie either. It was just kind of a nothing movie to me. My biggest problem is just that I'm tired of seeing this kind of movie, the band biopic type thing, because they're so similar. Despite the fact that they're based on true stories, why do they follow such similar beats the whole way through? It's Straight Outta Compton, it's Dreamgirls, it's Jersey Boys, it's That Thing You Do. I was tired of seeing it.
And I loved Straight Outta Compton. They did the group story way better because you actually were able to know them, know all of them, not just one of them. Could have just been one of them, Ice Cube. But yeah, they focus on all of them and their story.
My last dishonorable mention is a tie. It is Tag and Game Nights. Neither one of these movies are the worst comedies I've ever seen because the laugh count is at least greater than 0. But it's more so just the fact that these movies are considered to be the best comedies of the year. And that just makes
a lot of people don't like Tag.
Well, okay, but still, that is what they said. Best comedy of the year. Either way, I just think, how far have we fallen as a human race to where that's what's considered the best? Really? And that's an even bigger kick in the teeth when I actually saw some really good comedies this year, like Groundhog Day and Stripes, for the first time. Those were made in the 80s. Why is it that
Groundhog Day was in the 90s, Stripes was in the 80s.
Oh, well, okay. Well, either way, why is it that so many decades, like 2 decades later, we're getting worse, not better?
Because that has Bill Murray and Harold Ramis. And not, well, schlock artists. Well, they do have talented people behind both movies, and one of the talents, I can actually speak for Tag, Jeremy Renner, he makes the movie.
Right, he's definitely the best part.
But everyone else is,
the rest of it's all improv bullshit. Also, funny thing, I didn't know this until afterwards, but Tag was apparently the reason why Jeremy Renner couldn't show up as Hawkeye in Infinity War. Because he broke his arm on the set of that.
Oh, that's a kick in the fucking balls.
Hope it was worth it, man.
You better have gotten a good... then again, he probably didn't get as good a payoff from, like, the first Avengers, but... Game Night, I never saw it. I kind of wanted to see it.
I'll say Game Night was slightly better than Tag, if only because it actually had a script. Not a very good script, but still, it was at least somewhat paced a little bit better because of it. And but otherwise, it's like almost like a sitcom checklist. The characters, the plot lines, and even for its ridiculous plot, it really doesn't feel funny because it is that same sort of anti-humor bullshit that it makes modern comedies so insufferable. And characters don't even feel like characters, they just feel like actors struggling to be funny. That's it. So, like I said, not the worst comedies I've ever seen, but I just cannot, in the
Far
right
from
mind,
the best.
know why people would call them the best. So, that's all I'm saying.
Oh, I better hold on.
So, my number 1 worst movie of the year is A Wrinkle in Time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not expect that.
I said I had a surprise for you, so... The Wrinkle in Time book is a huge nostalgia factor for me because it was one of the earliest introductions I had to the science fiction genre. It was something my grandpa had. He has a collection of science fiction books. He gave it to my dad. He read it. He loved it. When I was young, my dad's like, "Oh, you should read this. You like all that space sciencey stuff, right? You should read this." I read it. I loved it. It's been a while since I've read it, though, so I can't recall absolutely everything that happened in it. It's been a while since I've seen the TV movie in which it was based on, too. I don't know how well that holds up. Just looking at the reviews, it seemed like a lot of people didn't like it, but I don't know. Like I said, I saw it as a kid. It's been a while. Regardless, this movie, oh my god, it's just absolute fucking garbage. Hot garbage. A dumpster fire.
And you're diving into it head first.
it's the basic story of A Wrinkle in Time. It's about a young girl and her little brother, little annoying little shit named Charles Wallace, which they'll say throughout the movie like at least 50,000 times.
Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace.
It becomes comical too. It's like, Charles Wallace, what are you doing, Charles Wallace? Why?
Charles Wallace, why are you trying to Charles Wallace? Charles Wallace, you're trying to Charles Wallace. You're doing your own Charles Wallace. Charles
Oh my
Wallace.
gosh. So the basic story is that a young girl and her young brother are traveling through space and time with these three women, which in the book were supposed to be like guardian angels, but in this movie they're treated like fucking Disney princesses with cosmic energy and everything. So they travel through space and time and are trying to find their dad who went missing a few years ago. So I mean, it's a very complicated plot for what it is. So I can't go beat for beat and say this is what happened in the book and this is what they changed in the new stupid movie. So I'll just say this. One of the coolest aspects of the original book that I look back on is how it combined elements of both religion and science. It tried to be somewhat of a medium between the two and try to use both to kind of explain each other, which was very, very interesting, very intriguing, and it gave me kind of a new outlook on both my religion and how like the world works and everything. Back in the day, they actually hated that so much. They were like, oh no, get this fucking science out of our religion.
Outlawed! Shunned!
Now it's the opposite problem. They took all the religion out of this movie completely. There's not a single mention of any religious attributes whatsoever, which just pisses all over what the source material stood for. It makes the whole thing feel flat. It makes the whole thing seem like a bunch of bullshit.
Some people can complain that adding religious elements in other movies can be either distracting or just forced. But when it's a part of the subject matter,
this is a part of the core ideas of what this movie brings up.
Exactly.
So that part that alone just ruins this movie for me. And it almost would have been the most expensive movie of the year for me because I was watching this on a tablet, and as I was like gritting my teeth down to the gums, I was gonna thought I was gonna break it over my knee. I was so mad. Even besides
this movie almost made him break a tablet.
Even besides the sheer softening down the source material to stupid dumb levels, I cannot believe how incompetently they handled this. I mean, the movie is supposed to have like very mysterious figures to them, and or like people that are supposed to have some level of mystiqueness to them. What do? Well, let's give them the most recognizable faces we can. So we got people like Zach Galifianakis in this movie, Chris Pine, Reese Witherspoon, fucking Oprah Winfrey. Really, it shatters all your immersion when you see these recognizable faces supposed to be like uber
disguisable.
Yeah, just I can't.
He just can't, people. He can't.
There's so much wrong with this movie. Let me just go with one of the bigger aspects of why this movie sucks: the child acting. Now, I figured if any movie that stars children wants to get damn good child actors, and don't give me the bullshit of there's no such thing as child actors. I have seen them. They do exist. It may take an extra minute to find them, but they can work. You just gotta find them. The kid acting in this movie is so bad. Charles Wallace especially is played by one of the worst kid actors I have ever seen. Brad Jones said it best when he's described this kid as if he belongs to a TGI Friday sitcom. and it's even worse coupled with his dialogue to where he's supposed to be using big words and talking like an adult, but in the little kid voice kind of. There's one part of this movie where he's supposed to be possessed by the evil entity that's destroying the universe and everything. He's possessed by him, and he's dragging his sister and his dad around telepathically, and they're like kicking and screaming, and he's supposed to be like this super intimidating figure, but he's not. Oh my god, this stupid little kid makes Loki look like Anton from No Country for Old Men. There are so many parts of this movie that are just a bunch of bullshit. I could say that was done so much better in the book. I said my theme this year is taking things I liked and fucking it up royally. This is the epitome of that. And the fact that it comes from Disney, the people with the bottomless checkbooks, the people who have all the resources in the world, all the money in the world, but it can't buy them talent. It can't buy them passion. It can't buy them anything.
It only buys them marketability.
And it failed. This was a box office flop. It's the kind of movie that's probably going to end some people's careers. And you know what? If you're going to put out a movie like this proudly, good. You don't deserve to work in this industry if you're going to be like that. Maybe you will say, "Oh, it's not our fault. There's some like suits in Disney that say that we can't do this and this and this." This just shows the problem, because Disney owns half the goddamn entertainment industry, and if this is the kind of quality that you can come to expect from them, I really hope it's not like this. But if it is, in a few years, I'm not even gonna like movies.
Hopefully I'll be able to find movies that you will like in the future.
Oh
years.
God, if there's ever gonna exist movies that they're not gonna come from you, man.
Whatever, ass. Well, luckily, even a lot of these you've been able to agree with me on, but you being a fan of the original movie of my number one pick this year, hopefully you'll be able to take my taste a little bit more seriously once I trounce on this. My number one worst for this year is The Predator. Yes, not Predator, not Predator 2, not Predators, or whatever other Predator sequel.
Alien vs. Predator.
Alien versus... Jesus Christ!
Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
And The Predator. So yeah, you know the lineage of these. Mm-hmm. Imagine how you would feel watching this movie knowing that the Predators, these monsters that have killed dozens of people, are not the prime form of Predator. There is a larger Predator of Predators now. Yeah.
So they're combining elements of like Alien with Predator.
Exactly, which is one of the dumbest things that they can ever do. And also, oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna try and combine the first one as well as the second one, and have it be a reboot, a remake. Because, and even though it's supposed to be a reboot or a remake, they're still referencing stuff from the previous movies. So, essentially, the way that they're trying to rip off the first one is that, yeah, they start out in the jungle, and they come across the Predator already, and by God, this movie uses his R rating as lengthy as possible. There's so much blood in this. But yeah, they find the Predator, this one army captain. Well, he's the only survivor. Instead of being, like, treated like royalty, oh my God, you saw this thing, he's a prisoner. He gets taken prisoner of the big bad company who owns the materials of the original Predator suit that they've been trying to do research on and trying to commercialize it. Yeah, that doesn't sound fucking old at all, does it? Yeah, so he gets taken...
That's exactly the plot of Alien.
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to rip... Anyway, the captain is... Well, he immediately makes friends with, now it's trying to rip off the fugitive because they get taken away in a prison bus. But even Key from Key and Peele is a part of that group, as well as Thomas Jane and...
I thought it was Jordan.
No, it was Key.
Oh. I thought Jordan was the skinny one, and then...
No. Key is the skinny one.
Okay.
Peele is the shorter, deeper voiced one.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, Key's the bald one. Anyway, yeah, it's Key, Thomas Jane, the Punisher, Black from Moonlight, Trevante Rhodes, the adult form of Chiron.
You say Black from Moonlight's in an all-black movie.
The nickname or whatever he had.
Okay.
Yeah, they all and some Spanish guy, they all become this ragtag group of war heroes. And oh yeah, the captain sends the helmet of the Predator that they either captured or killed to his autistic son, out of all people, because he understands languages. Oh yeah, they try and hammer in, oh yeah, he has Asperger's, but, oh, special child. And that would leave you searing in anger.
And no, I just don't understand the logic. It's like he's got Asperger's, so he's got a different viewpoint of the world. He'll understand alien language. What?
Exactly. And sending the package doesn't even make sense.
I have autism. You do that to me, I tell you, you're an idiot.
Well, he's even a bigger idiot because the kid, in order to avoid bullies later on, it happens to take place around Halloween, he wears the helmet as a costume. out for trick-or-treating.
Gee, I wonder what happens.
He blows up a house with one of the ray guns that's on the helmet.
Yep, exactly. They won't be making fun of me again.
Oh yeah, and Olivia Munn is in this too. She's one of the researchers that is like obsessed with the Predator. Oh yeah, and by the way, they take one of the best lines from the first Predator and just shit all over it. And when she looks at him, she's like,
You're one ugly motherfucker.
"You're one beautiful motherfucker."
Oh.
Get it? It's funny. But after that, it goes from the jungle to the city. That's why it's combining Predator 2. But also, the dialogue is uninspired, the humor is very tasteless, and it's coming mostly from Key. Oh yeah, by the way, Thomas Jane and Key, even though they fight a lot, they have a secretly gay relationship. They try and shoehorn that in.
Okay.
And you know
they want to speed it up a bit.
Yeah, and also one of the other things, the idea of the guys dying off one by one, completely thrown out. They all die essentially at once, and it's not very tense and suspenseful when a predator can just go from one place to another and not blend in the jungle and have camouflage elements and actually be able to create suspense. This movie doesn't do that. It doesn't have humor. It doesn't have characters. I just had to tell you the real actors' names of them instead of the names of the characters. And yeah, just the idea that there's a bigger, badder predator who kills the other predator, which you're supposed to feel sorry for. And yeah, they take out the big predator in a bitch way too. And the cherry on top of the shit sundae with this movie, in that even though it is absolutely awful, it's coming from Shane Black. Shane Black, who was in the first Predator movie. He was one of the soldiers in the first Predator movie. He wrote and directed this one. The man who made Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He did make Iron Man. Anyway.
Original Lethal Weapon. That was Shane Black.
Okay. I thought that was Richard Donner. It could have been written by him. But anyway.
But, they say every Shane Black movie has a Christmas element to it, and they reference Lethal Weapon as well.
Okay, I'll look into that later.
All right.
But yeah, you'd think that someone from the Predator franchise would be able to understand Predator. No, they retcon the original story of it, and that the bigger predators hunt down other predators, and that they're trying to morph it with human DNA. That goes nowhere. And oh yeah, the son says fucking it. Like I guess you're supposed to have all kid actors in an R-rated movie do. And especially with him being special needs, and also the evil doctor who's played by Waikiki Sterling K. Brown from Hotel Artemis, he dies like a bitch. He just gets accidentally shot by one of the cannons. And yeah, just everything about this is a mess. There's a lot of stupid shit in it. It's not funny. It's not good action. It's not a good story. It's just shit.
Well, those are our top 5 worst. Join us next time for our top 5 best.
Positivity, it will rain.